Well, hello and welcome to this first video where we are going to code the data that we got from the survey. So in this file is actually the data that we collected from the survey. Is almost the original thing. I only fixed a couple of things very quickly, like for example, changing the colors here and the format of the table, but it's just basic stuff. It's literally the original data. So what we are going to do in this video, I think we will do it just in one video, is to do what we call cleaning the data and also coding the data. Because as you can see, here we have some data that says male, female, or no and yes. And in SPSS, where we analyze the data, we need to have only numbers. So we need to clean and to code in order to make it work. So first of all, we will go step by step. I will tell you how it's done. You can follow me with your file. And the very first step that we need to do is to go to data and go to filter. Click on filter. That will help a lot because it can give us a hint of, it can give us like a big overview of what's going on. I actually realized that this data set is very good because we put a lot of filters. Like for example, people could not answer to the questions, like jump ahead. So every question has an answer. That is very good for this. And we also had some filters and limitations that were very useful. For example, on age, we only have literally just numbers. We don't have anything else that can be messy. Sometimes people write like years or something, and that's complicated. But it's great that we only get numbers. But let's start with the first part, with the first step on cleaning, which is this first question. Thank you for your interest in participating in this study. I think this question actually asked the consent. I think it didn't copy everything, but it's actually asking if they are okay, and then it's I agree or no. So we can see that everyone said I agree. So then there is no need to even code for this. If someone will say no, I think the best thing to do is just to delete that line as just like that. But since everyone agreed, I think it's fine that we just delete this whole column. So you select the whole column and then you use Control minus and you delete all of that, and that's it. So we remove the first column because it's not that useful. Everyone agreed, so it's not that useful for the analysis. Then we have the first question, because as you can see, that's the structure of the survey is important because the structure has an order and logic. At the beginning, we have the control variables. So we start with the one related to gender. So first of all, we need to relabel the column because now it's a very long name in there. So let's relabel it. I usually use only 3 letters, and that will remind me of what is in here. So let's call it gen, as in gender. The next thing to do is to code this data and to clean if it needs to be cleaned. Click on this arrow here, the small arrow, to see what are the different answers that we got. And we actually only got female, male, and prefer not to say. So my suggestion is that, and also if we take a look, there are not that many prefer not to say. I think prefer not to say is one here. I think there are not that many things. There is only one who said prefer not to say. So I think the best thing to do is to code female as 1 and everything that is not female 0. So male and they prefer not to say. So select all your data from only this column. Select that data and then go to here in home. You go to find and select, replace, and then write female in here, find female, replace with 1, and click replace all. You should have 180 and 28 replacements. If not, then something is wrong. Then do not move out from here. Now write male and then replace with 0. Click replace all, and you should have the same number that I got. It's 87. And finally, we still have the prefer not to say. Prefer not to say should also be 0. Click replace all, it's only 1. That's it. So now if you go back and then you click in the small arrow again, now you will see that the data is only zeros and ones. Remember, 1 is female, 0 is male. That will be important later. Then we have a variable that is quite nice because we don't have to do a lot. We don't really have to code this. This is age. So I think the only thing we need to do is to rename the variable. So we just call it age. And we don't need to do anything. The data is already there in numbers. We can just click again in the small arrow there. And that's it. We have a good range of numbers. We will do descriptive analysis of our data later. And it seems that the older person is 49 years old. So it is a bit out of the range because we will see later the average is closer to the earliest stages, the youngest stages. So it is possible that we could say this is an outlier, like maybe this student is a bit old, but the data is not really affected. So I think we can move forward without removing that data. Usually that is what happens. We try with the data that we have, unless we have something that is really wrong. Imagine that someone wrote 150 or something. That's probably a mistake. We will need to delete that one. But as long as it's reasonable, fine. 49 is perfectly fine for a student. No problem with that. I think we don't need to remove that person at all. So click cancel and let's move forward. The next one is going to be interesting because we ask when did they start, right? But if we keep just this number, if we keep 2020 whatever, it's going to be a bit of a mess in SPSS because this number is going to be huge. So we need to do something with this again, code it. It will be too big number compared to the other numbers, so it can be a bit strange, the results that we get. So to fix that or to improve that, we are going to open a new column. So you can select this one, the next, and then click Control plus, Control and plus, and then you will have a new column. What we can do in here is to rename this column as G, like year, G. And what we are going to do is to do a calculation. We are going to do 2025 minus this number here. So what we are doing with this is that we are kind of asking how many years have they been studying, and we use 2025 because if someone, I don't know if someone replied 2024, but if someone replied 2024, it will end up with 1. Otherwise, it will be 0. So we use 2025, one more year to get 1 if the person just started this year, 1 year studying. So when you do that, please select everything and then copy everything and then go to paste and go paste as value, right? So now it is safe to remove the column before this one. This one, we don't need it anymore. We already collected all the data, so we can remove. We are done with year. Then the next thing that we need to do is to code for the university. We ask if they are studying in Jönköping or not. So what we can do in here is rename it as university. Let's call it uni. And we need to code. So again, select everything and go to find and select, replace. And let's code, this is a typical dummy variable where usually yes is 1. So yes and replace with 1. And you should get this number, 169. And then on the other one, it will be no, replace with 0. Usually in dummies, no's are 0, 47. So this question tells us who is a Jönköping University student and who is not. So ones are students from our university and zeros are not from your university. Then we have the next question. On which level are you currently studying or did you study? So here it's important that we have we need to decide something because if we click, we had 3 options, bachelor, master, or PhD. So the important thing here is that we make sure that we agree on how we're going to code this. Because one approach is that we can code bachelor as 1, master as 2, PhD as 3, and that will be an ordinal variable. Do you remember the ranking variable, that one that tells you what is first and what is second, what is third? So it's not that PhD and master is the same distance as master from bachelor, it's only like ranking. This is the top, second, and third. So we can do that. Another possibility is that we can also do a dummy. We can say that instead we are only interested on master students for some reason, so then we can code 1 master students and everything else 0, or bachelors or whatever. But I think with the type of data that we got, we can do an ordinal variable. So we can code as bachelor 1, master 2, and PhD 3. So let's go to here, sort and filter. And then, no, sorry, find and replace again, replace. And then we're starting with bachelor equals 1. That is the tier 1. And we click replace. And we will get, let's see how many responses. 143 replacements. Then we're going to write master, and that will be 2. So the second level of study, 64. And finally, PhD, the third level of studies, it is 9, okay? So that is just, we need to remember, and here we need to change the name to maybe level of studies, and that's it, 1, 2, and 3. 1 bachelor, 2 master, 3 PhDs. It's not scale variable. We will talk about that in SPSS. It's an ordinal variable or ranking variable. The next question is if they were born in Sweden. So in here, the answer, we need to rename the column to maybe like this, as in Sweden, and we will need to code as a dummy. That's very easy to do. So just go to find and select, replace. Yes, if they are born in Sweden, use replace for 1. You end up with 121, and then no, 0. 95 are not from Sweden, so probably exchange or international students. Then the next question is if they have an international experience. So this, we can rename it as int, as like international, and then we do the same. It's also a dummy variable. You can always double check that only the answers are yes or no. I am sure because when we made the survey, we made sure there were no options to write something different. So yes, 1. And no will be 0. So I don't know why it's a bit slow. 108. No, 0. That's 110. No. So almost 50-50. And with that, we finish with our control variables, which in our case, these are the most difficult variables to code because the rest we will see, they are already coded. They are very nice, the variables for our questions. So before we move forward, I want to sometimes I like to keep a nice format. And what I want to do is to just change the color of this. Maybe I will use orange. Just to highlight, so I remember the orange variables are the ones that are just controls. So now the next thing that I need to do is to clean and code as needed for a global mindset, which is my dependent variable and all the independence that I have, right? So what I am going to do is to rename the variables GMS, GMS1, GMS2, and then you can just copy paste from here the names of the variables GMS3, 4, blah, blah, blah. The next thing I can do exactly the same thing for collectivism. So you just rename it collectivism, call 1, call 2. And because all these columns represent the answers to each of the questions for these variables. Remember, we are not only asking one question for one variable. We're actually asking more than one. Like here we ask 4 questions, and here we ask 5 questions. So that is what we are doing in here, only changing the name of the columns that we already know we collected. can take a little bit of time, but I will try to do it as quick as possible so we don't even waste time here in the video. You do here. Then we have network skills. Net2. I also don't know why the file is so slow. And copy paste until here, net5, and then the professional aspirations 1, professional aspirations 2, and then I keep doing it until here 4. That's fine. So now let's think about it. Do we really need to change anything? And the answer is no. We do not need to change anything on any of the variables. We can double check if the answers are fine, like if there is nothing more than 10 or nothing less than 1, nothing like 1.5, but it will not appear because I made sure that when I designed the survey, that was not possible. People could not skip the answer, could not skipping any question, and they could only select like the points, right? So I'm sure there are no mistakes. But something that could occur, but it's not the case in here. In this survey, you don't have to do anything, but just for teaching experience, I need to tell you something. It is possible that maybe we inverse coded something. You remember, like maybe for global mindset, we always had questions that the higher, the more global mindset they had. But what if we have a question that was actually the opposite, like the higher they answered, it was actually less. If that is the case, let's assume it's not in this survey, but let's assume just for pedagogical reason. If that is the case, then you have to recalculate the number. So what you will do in here is to do 11. It is always the maximum value plus 1. 11 minus the previous, right? So in that sense, you will get the number, the inverse number, right? So if this question was the opposite, like if this question, the higher the answer, the less global mindset they had, it would have to be handled like this. You had to manually code it like this in Excel. In our survey, we didn't have that problem, right? So I can just delete this and then it's fine. The last thing to do is just to add a little bit more formatting. I mean, you can do whatever you prefer is better with your own colors. I like to use blue for the dependent variable, and then for all the independent variables, maybe, I don't know, maybe we can use the color yellow, like this, right? And you can even add maybe like, if you want, you can add even like a small line in here, like this right border. You can do the same in here. And I don't know if you want to do more, but that's it. I think it was quite quick, and this is how you clean and how you code the data. We didn't really have to clean anything, I think, because everyone agreed. The survey was really well prepared. Like there were no like answers that had missing values, because if that is the case, maybe you need to remove it. We still have this possibility in here that maybe these people could be a bit older, and that like 41 maybe is a bit out of range, but let's see. That's actually what we all do when we do research. We start testing and then we'll see what happens, and then depending on that, we do more, we do less, whatever. But let's keep it like that. It's not super crazy, like it's not 150. That will happen, then we will remove that. Everything else is also okay. Like for example, even here, the person who started studying was 13 years old ago. So maybe it's a person who is doing a PhD or something like that, like maybe still studying after many years, or maybe someone who is restarting a degree. It's also a possibility. And if you want, you can take a look about how many people are like this. Like it's only one person. So maybe we can remove if that is if that complicates our results, or if it gives strange things. But so far everything is. So I think now we are done with Excel. The next step is actually going to SPSS and then do our tests there.